if a commercial flight leaves Lisbon for New York, takes the North Atlantic track. So how did we passenger plane end up frozen solid in the iceberg 3000 miles in the wrong direction? In aviation history, when a plane goes down over the ocean, there is always something, a distress ping, an oil slick, debris, but decades ago, a fully loaded airline just vanished. Proof, no distress call, no radar blip, it became a ghost story until this week. A glaciologist named Dr. Jeremy London was mapping ice flows in the Canadian archipelago using deep penetrating sonar technology that can see through hundreds of feet of solid ice, and his radar hit something massive. It wasn't a shipwreck, it was a missing flight. Finding perfectly preserved plane inside a glacier is a miracle of science. It should have been the greatest closure to an aviation tragedy ever. But as a London team drilled down into the ice to reach the fuselage, they realized something terrifying. The doors of the aircraft weren't sealed shut down the crash. They were ripped open from the inside, and the sonar showed they weren't alone in the ice. Welcome in the tomb in the ice.
The expedition had been grueling. Months of satellite reconnaissance and bureaucratic red tape had led Dr. Landon and his team to this precise, desolate coordinate. The temperature is 40 degrees below zero. The air is so cold it burns the lungs. As their research vessel cuts the engine, the silence of the Arctic is deafening. But there it is, wedged into a glacial valley, half buried by shifting ice sheets, the fuselage of the missing airliner. It defies physics. The hull is torn, showing signs of a catastrophic structural failure, yet it hasn't disintegrated. The ice has cradled it, locking the wreckage in a suspended state of decay. To an aeronautical expert like Joseph Julius, the team's lead engineer, this is a gold mine. To the rest of the crew, it looks like a coffin. They launch the skiff. The mission is simple: board the craft, retrieve the flight data recorder, the black box, and document the interior. But as they approach the aluminum carcass, the excitement evaporates. Emily Jonas, the team's survival tracker, spots it first. These aren't impact fractures from the crash. These are gouges. Deep, rhythmic tears in the metal skin of the plane. Something applied massive force here, and judging by the lack of oxidation on the exposed metal, the damage is fresh. Something has been here. Something is still nearby. Dr. Landon splits the team. One group remains on the boat to monitor radar. The strike team heads inside. They pry open the rear emergency door, fighting years of accumulated ice. The interior is a mausoleum. The temperature inside is lower than the air outside. What they find freezes them in their tracks. The passengers are still there, flash frozen, preserved instantly by the killing cold. The rapid plunge in temperature at the moment of the crash halted decomposition completely. Men in 1970s suits, women clutching handbags, a child holding a toy. It is a moment of pure terror, captured forever in ice. Landon moves toward the cockpit, intent on the black box. But something in the numbers doesn't add up. He pauses, turns, and begins counting. The manifest listed 108 souls on board, but counting the frozen figures, 5 are missing. His face changes. A tightness forms around his eyes. Where did they go? There is no exit that could have been opened mid-flight. Did they survive the impact? If so, where are the bodies? Back on the boat, a data analyst is reviewing the high-res photos transmitted from the wreckage. She zooms in on an image of the fuselage taken from the water. Her blood runs cold. In the shadow of the broken wing, just barely visible against the white snow, is a figure, standing, watching. The radio crackles. The boat crew alerts Landon. You are being watched. Panic begins to set in. The sun is dipping below the horizon, bringing the crushing weight of the Arctic night. The team on the ice feels exposed. Joseph, the engineer, argues it's a trick of the light, pareidolia, the mind seeing patterns where none exist. But the tracker, Emily, disagrees. She finds tracks circling the wreckage. They are chaotic, dragging, disappearing into the hard-packed ice and reappearing. It looks like something has been pacing, hunting. Landon pushes forward. He forces the frozen cockpit door open with a crash axe. Inside, the instruments are dead, frozen at 3:47 p.m. The pilots are gone. Unlike the cabin, the cockpit suffered a separate localized rupture. The windscreen shattered inward. The flight crew was pulled out by the decompression. The cabin behind had remained sealed just long enough for the passengers to be claimed by the cold instead of the sky. But the black box is there, bolted beneath the pilot's console. Landon secures the device. "We're leaving," he commands, but as they exit the plane, a sound stops them. It's coming from the distance. A heavy rhythmic crunching of snow. Through the swirling mist, the crew sees it again. A white silhouette, tall, motionless, standing upright as if surveying them. Then, in the blink of an eye, it drops to all fours and vanishes into the blizzard. Night passes in agonizing slowness. Back on the ship, the crew analyzes the photos. The figure is real, it has mass, it has shadow, and the shape is wrong, too large for a man, yet unmistakably bipedal in that frozen frame. By morning, Dr. Landon makes a controversial decision. The tracks lead away from the plane toward a jagged formation of ice caves 300 yards east. If the missing 5 passengers survived, they would have sought shelter. Landon believes the answers, and perhaps the source of the haunting figure, lie in that cave. Landon hesitates at the threshold. For a long moment he stares into the darkness. He has spent years chasing the dead, but the dead have never stared back. He exhales, watches his breath crystallize in the air, and steps inside. The cave is warmer than the outside air, shielded from the wind. A few degrees can mean everything in the Arctic. Deeper inside, they find the remnants of a tragedy. A makeshift camp, tattered blankets crusted with frost, an improvised fire pit that burned out decades ago, surrounded by scattered clothing used as fuel, and then the bodies, the missing 5, they didn't vanish. They survived the crash, walked to this cave, and slowly succumbed to the cold. One man still clutches a lighter in his frozen fist. A woman's arms are wrapped around a younger man, perhaps her son. Landon kneels beside a passenger slumped against the cave wall. Pressed to the man's chest, frozen to his coat, is a journal. Carefully, Landon pries it free, the ice crackling as it releases its grip. The pages are fragile, the entries erratic. The first few describe the crash, the screaming, the cold, the desperate march through the snow, but as the days pass, the handwriting changes. It becomes jagged, frantic. The final entry is dated 11 days after the crash. "It came back again last night. We call it the White Demon. It circles the cave when the sun goes down. Last night it scratched at the entrance for hours. We could hear it breathing. The fire is almost out. God help us." Landon closes the journal. The cave is silent, and then it isn't. No one moves. No one breathes. The journal wasn't talking about a ghost. Deep in the shadows of the cavern, 2 eyes reflect the beam of the flashlights, and beneath those eyes, a body emerges. A polar bear, a massive female, easily 9 feet tall if she stood, and behind her, pressed against the frozen wall, 2 cubs. The pieces snap into place. The fresh gouges on the plane, claw marks, territorial scratching, the dragging tracks, a bear hauling seal carcasses across the ice. The figure standing upright on 2 legs, a polar bear rising to survey the horizon, as they often do. The wreckage has become part of her territory, a windbreak, a landmark. And this cave is her nursery. This is not a supernatural haunting. This is a territorial standoff, and the humans are the intruders. The bear doesn't roar. She chuffs, a sharp percussive exhale, a warning. She is calculating, weighing the threat against the risk to her cubs. Landon raises his hand slowly. He signals the retreat. His voice is barely a whisper. No sudden movements. Eyes down. Do not run. In the Arctic, if you run, you are prey. The distance to the cave mouth feels infinite. 20 feet, 15, 10. The bear takes a single step forward. The crew freezes. Seconds stretch into hours. Heartbeats hammer against ribs. Sweat freezes on foreheads despite the cold. Then, the bear stops. She chuffs again, holds her ground. She has made her point. The moment the sunlight hits them, they turn. Not running, walking fast, controlled, every instinct screaming to sprint. They scramble across the ice to the skiff. Engines roar to life. As the boat pulls away, Emily looks back. At the mouth of the cave, the white shape stands watching. They are leaving her territory now. She allows it. But the message is clear. The tomb has a guardian, and she is not negotiating. Safely aboard, the data from the black box is decrypted. The final moments of the flight are reconstructed in cold clinical detail. There was no foul play, no hijacking, no malice. The aircraft encountered severe icing at altitude, a phenomenon that starved the engines of fuel while coating the wings in frozen weight. The pilots fought to regain control, but the Arctic had already claimed them. A tragic mechanical failure, a moment of atmospheric cruelty, nothing more.
The mystery of lost flight is solved. Coordinates are transmitted to the relevant authorities. The family of the 108 souls will finally have answers after decades of silence. But for Dr. Landon and his crew, the expedition leaves a different mark. They went looking for ghosts and found only the raw and different power of nature. The plant, the bodies, and the survivors who clung to life for 11 desperate days. They all belong to the ice now. They belong to her. Some mysteries are solved, others are merely survived, and the tomb remained undisturbed.